Okay, so today we're going to talk about absolute value functions and actually how we solve them for x. So we talked about the graph and what they look like, we've talked about their domain and range, and we've talked about their vertex. Now we're going to talk about just how you simply solve them using algebra. So we have steps for solving absolute value functions, and at this point you might want to pause the video and copy these down. So the first step is to isolate, meaning get it by itself, the absolute value expression. Then we rewrite the equation as two equations, so we're going to split it as if we're working two different problems. Then we're going to solve for both x values, and then we substitute in our solutions just to make sure that it worked. Okay, so if you need to, pause the video and write that down. Alright, we're just going to start by doing an example straight off the bat. So what I want to do is isolate the absolute value. Well, there's nothing in front of it and there's nothing behind it, so it's already isolated. So the second step says to split it into two equations. So what we do is we drop the absolute value signs and we say that 2x plus 1 is equal to 5 and 2x plus 1 is equal to negative 5. Now the reason we do that is because remember, absolute value is the distance the number is from x. So when we split it and use the negative as one of the solutions, that helps us to account for the fact that this could have been a negative number inside. So then all we're doing is simply solving for x, which is review. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides, so I get 2x equals 4, divide by 2, x equals 2. Then I'm going to take that and plug it back into up here. So I have the absolute value of 2 times 2 plus 1 has to equal 5. Well, 4 plus 1, absolute value, is 5, which equals 5, so that works out. Okay? Then we solve this one over here. So I'm going to subtract 1, so I get 2x is equal to negative 6, divide by 2, so I get x is equal to negative 3. Now I'm going to take that and plug it back into the original to see if it works. So I get absolute value of 2 times negative 3 plus 1 is equal to 5. Now don't forget that there were absolute value signs there. That's going to affect the answer. So I get negative 6 plus 1 is equal to 5. Well, negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. At this point, it looks like it doesn't work. However, the absolute value sign, remember, changes that to be a positive 5. So this works as well. So both of the answers work. So your answer would be x equals 2 and x equals negative 3. Let's work another example. So say we have this. Now in this case, the first step, remember, says to isolate the absolute value. Well, it's not by itself because I have a minus 6 here and it's being multiplied by 5. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and move it. You're going to add 6. And so I have 5, absolute value of 2x is equal to 30. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So I get absolute value of 2x is equal to 6. So at this point I split it into two problems because now the absolute value is by itself. So I get 2x equals 6 and I get 2x equals negative 6. So over here x is equal to 3. Over here x is equal to negative 3. So then you're going to plug them back in. So if x is 3, I would get 5 times 2 times 3 is 6. That's an absolute value. Minus 6. Well, that does away the absolute value, so I get 30 minus 6 is equal to 24. So that one works out. The negative one, 5 times 2 negative 3 times negative 3 minus 6. This becomes 5 absolute value negative 6 minus 6. At this point, you have to change the sign of that. So it becomes a positive 6. So I really have 5 times 6. Minus 6. So 30 minus 6 is 24. Checks out, equals 24. So that one works as well. So your answer is x equals negative 3 and x equals 3. Okay? So what I want you to do now is there's an entrance ticket on your paper, on your notes. You're going to do this problem right here. So solve the following absolute value equation. Make sure you check your answers, and I will be checking this first thing in class tomorrow. If you have any questions, make sure you fill out the WSQ and you put them on there. Otherwise, that's all I've got.